Hi, my name's Tabine, and I'm a social work counselor at MD Anderson Cancer Center. I have experience working and facilitating support groups, and I'm passionate about nurturing optimism and hope for patients and caregivers in their cancer journey. I'm a licensed therapist, and I work with patients every day to facilitate coping. So today, I wanted to talk to you guys about finding your new normal, how to cope with change after cancer. I'm here to talk to you because I know that life changes the minute that you are diagnosed with cancer. Besides the patient and caregiver interaction I received from working at MD Anderson, both of my parents and several family members have been affected by cancer. I understand how quickly your entire life can change after a cancer diagnosis. So I wanted to spend this time talking with you about what you can do when your life turns upside down. Will you long for the life that you once had before your diagnosis? Or will you discover ways to find joy and meaning from where you are now? So I want to give a brief overview on what we will be talking about today. This discussion will tackle the various lifestyle and role changes that you may face after diagnosis, learn how to find normalcy in your life after you find out that you have cancer, and provide you with strategies to help you cope with change after this diagnosis. After you hear this news, it may take some time to recover and resume your normal activities, and it's very common to be thinking about what happens next. This adjustment period is referred to as the new normal. So, why is this important? Well, as you know, cancer is a universally life-changing event. There is no quick fix to help you overcome this disease because it is a chronic illness. The reality is that you may face challenges that could negatively impact the quality of your life and your psychological well-being long term if you're not proactive right now in seeking support. Some common physical side effects of treatment that you may experience include physical impairment, disability, fatigue, or pain, among many others. In addition, the stress of living with cancer and its treatment, anxiety and fear of recurrence, and the distress caused by the physical side effects can also lead to additional psychological distress. These physical and psychological effects can then subsequently lead to substantial social problems, such as disruption of self image, loss of independence, and inability to work or fulfill other normative social roles. So, as you can see, there are numerous physical, psychological, and social side effects of cancer. And so, it's important for patients to seek help to cope with all of these challenges that can affect your overall well being. In fact, despite research demonstrating that ongoing counseling can greatly improve patient outcomes, many patients do not reach out for support. There may be many reasons for that. Maybe it's hard to get to a therapist. It could be a financial barrier that's causing you to not seek that out. Maybe there's stigma about finding help or counseling, but it's very, very, very important. I want to talk about this today to emphasize the importance of mental health and encourage you to seek assistance through this transition period to improve your overall happiness and well being. So, as we just discussed, cancer can impact you both physically and mentally and lead to serious mental health challenges. Changes in physical appearance and abilities could be one of them. You could have, lost some weight, you have a thinner appearance, there could be some vision loss, loss of hair, loss of energy. You might now be using a wheelchair. These are all changes that are drastic to physical appearance, and that can sometimes lead to self consciousness regarding your outward appearance or possibly your physical limitations. This feeling can lead to patients wanting to maybe withdraw or isolate from family or friends, and potentially that can lead to depression, anxiety, and potentially suicidal ideation when patients feel like nobody understands what they're going through. This is why focusing on mental health should be a priority after you get your diagnosis. Something that I hear often from patients is when they tell me that they wish they could go back to their life before cancer because of these new limitations that they have. Cancer can sometimes make you feel like you have your loss of identity because your physical, emotional, and social challenges are keeping you from living life on your terms. A lot of this is about a lack of control. So, what is loss of identity? It's a culmination of several different types of losses. You may identify with all or maybe just one of these. But as we go through them, I want you to think about each one and see which one resonates with you so that you can work on navigating that specific one. So, to begin, loss of independence. This is very common with cancer patients, and it occurs when you are unable to return to perform activities or hobbies or things that you used to take for granted. So you may no longer be able to drive yourself to appointments and need someone else to drive you. You may need help with eating or putting on clothing yourself. You may need help with hygiene related tasks like showering or going to the bathroom. You may also feel dependent on medication if you're on long term maintenance and you feel a lack of control. Needing these everyday activities to be delegated to others may cause you to feel dependent and sometimes immobilized. Another loss is a loss of self image. So, after cancer diagnosis, you may experience physical changes that can contribute to you not identifying with the version of yourself that you see in the mirror. Another one is the loss of purpose. So, goals that you set for yourself at work might be put on hiatus. You may have to take time away from school to go through treatment. Maybe you have to take a break from playing a sport that you used to enjoy and take pride in. Your priorities may change. Plans for marriage and kids may be altered due to treatment, or you may even not be interested in the same things that you were anymore. Your loss of purpose can feel like it's out of control at this time. Another one is loss of relationships. So people may not know what to say and can therefore act differently around you, and you may lose connection with people so you can't share in things that you used to. Cancer can also cause extended time away from your social circle and your loved ones, especially if you're traveling back and forth frequently, out of state, just to go and get treatment and follow-up appointments. Another one is a loss of self-esteem. So it can sometimes be difficult to face all these changes and feel confident regarding your life when you feel and appear physically different from yourself. So, all these different losses, how do we overcome them? The first step is reflecting on your life as it is right now and identifying what losses have impacted you the most since you got your diagnosis. Once you can identify that, then we can begin the work on rebuilding that in your new normal. So, what is a new normal? It's not so much getting back to normal as it is finding out what normal looks like for you now. So, there are a couple of different steps to help you get there. First is the grief aspect. So, in order to cope with all the changes after a cancer diagnosis, I want to stress it's okay to miss what life was like before cancer, to grieve it, to feel sadness, and even anger over the fact that cancer created this big disruption in your life. The first step is acknowledging what you are missing in order to understand how to overcome this loss. Then is the acceptance. So once you can begin to identify and accept this change, you can begin to rebuild and transition into making the most out of this new part of your life, to have perspective and appreciation for the life you live now and the people that you have in your life who are supporting you. Then you can work on rebuilding. So your new normal may include finding new or different sources of support or looking for meaning out of this new cancer experience. The cancer experience can be a very unique journey, which is different for everyone. But it may sound surprising, but in this rebuilding phase, you may learn that cancer can even have some positive impacts on your life. Living with cancer may increase feelings of closeness or intimacy with family or friends. You might have noticed that happening already. You'll discover who you can depend on and who's there for you through your most difficult time. The people in your life that show up for you will lead to much stronger relationships. You may also find that you're bonding with people you didn't even know before this. You might be joining support groups or online forums and building relationships with people that are brand new to you, but you bond over the fact that you have this shared traumatic event. Having cancer can also change your priorities because it can cause you to have some exciting new experiences. So you may be motivated to make a career change into a career that is more fulfilling. You may want to quit your previous job to spend more quality time with your family. You may also be motivated to make the most out of every day because you had this perspective after having cancer that you may want to do things you've never done before, whether that's overcoming a fear or traveling somewhere that you've always wanted to go, or fulfilling a life goal. It can lead to these new experiences because you have a motivation now. Facing a cancer diagnosis can also lead to an increased appreciation for your life and just being grateful for every day that you have. That's something that people who haven't gone through this don't understand. Once you get that diagnosis and you hear those words, you start to realize just how precious life can be, and you really appreciate every single moment that you have here and you want to make the most of it. This awareness can help you appreciate the world in many different new ways. Living with cancer can also help you develop increased mental strength and a sense of empowerment. So you can be proud of how hard you're fighting and what you've accomplished in your journey. You just, as the saying goes, you don't know how strong you are until it's the only choice you have. This can provide you with this empowerment that look how much you've accomplished and look how far you've come. Another thing that I've seen happen through a lot of patients in their cancer experience is a spiritual development. So some people living with cancer find that they gain an increased interest in practicing their religion or adding some type of spiritual depth to their daily lives. Cancer can change your life, but I think the most important thing is to find ways that it can change your life for the better. Whether that's just learning what's important to you, learning how to prioritize, and learning not to waste your time, learning to spend, the days that you have with the most important people around you and surrounding yourself with people that are there for you, support you, and love you. So there are 5 different strategies that we're going to talk about today to help with coping with all the changes. The first one is going to be expressing gratitude, which is focusing on positive expression of feelings. I'm a big believer that you can talk yourself into a good mood or a bad mood. And I believe that a positive mood and gratitude can greatly impact your care and the way that you handle difficult situations. So I want you to look at these questions that I have on the slide and use it as a brain exercise to help you draw the good out of a bad situation. Think about your current situation as you read through these topics. So first, when you're feeling lonely or isolated, who can you turn to that understands? Write down those names. When you feel as though you have lost meaning and fulfillment in your life and you want to give up, who do you want to keep fighting for? For whom does it matter that you continue to fight? Write down those names. When you're feeling sad, what hobbies, interests, or people lift you up and give you hope? Write those down. When you're feeling upset about why this had to happen to you, what can you say you've learned from this experience? Has it added something to your life that you didn't have before? Are there things that you appreciate now that you might have taken for granted before your diagnosis? As human beings, there is something intrinsic in our drive to extract meaning and understand why trivial things happen and you or a loved one had to be diagnosed with cancer. Our ability to make sense of and create meaning from difficult situations defines how we feel about ourselves and shapes the identity we create throughout our lives. The goal is to be able to get to a place where you can say, I'm grateful for what the experience taught me about how I want to live my life. So using the topics we just discussed as a starting point, I encourage you to start a gratitude journal where you can reflect on the previous questions and also note one thing you're grateful for each day. There's a quote by Charles Dickens that I like that says, reflect on your present blessings of which every man has many, not on your past misfortunes of which all men have some. So a study on gratitude and subjective well-being in daily life found that adults who kept a daily gratitude journal showed greater increases in determination, attention, enthusiasm, and energy when compared to groups that focused on their misfortunes. So I wanted to give you some tips on how to create this gratitude journal and make this a daily practice for yourself. So if you're having difficulty with where to begin, think about just getting personal. Focus on the people that have really shown up for you in your time of need. Who has been dropping off food? Who has been calling you to check in on you? Who has been, around at every appointment? Think about those people. Another option is to try subtraction. So that's a way to stimulate gratitude by thinking of what your life would be like without certain blessings. So as an example, who could you not have done this journey without? What resources could you have not made it without? And that can help you find things that, you didn't even realize that you were so grateful for. Another one is the surprises. So you could take this journal with you to, follow appointments while you're sitting in the waiting room and just record events that were unexpected or maybe surprising. It could be, maybe you met somebody at the grocery store that morning that had kind words to say to you, or maybe you saw somebody from your past who reached out to say that they were thinking of you. Maybe you encountered a nurse or a doctor or a social worker who really listened to you and made you feel better that day. Those are all things that you can jot down and put in your journal. It can be really helpful for when you're having a bad day in the future as well, because you can look back at this journal of all these different items that you've accumulated of people and things and great things that make you feel grateful. And you might realize that there's a lot more to be grateful for than you realized. So it's really good to have this journal for yourself just to keep, either it's in your bag or it's, in your car somewhere you can keep it so that you know that you can always jot down something as it comes. So the next strategy is going to be managing expectations. So a big component of coping with change is learning to manage your expectations. Accept that some things are going to be out of your control. Focus on the things that you can control and take action on those instead. Set attainable goals to increase self confidence and sense of accomplishment. So you can start really small, whether it's doing a load of laundry or watering the garden or maybe cooking a meal. Build yourself up to creating different tasks for yourself that you know you can achieve in order to improve your confidence. Sometimes it's just doing one thing at a time. Say that you're going to do one task each day and then build until you can keep doing more and more things or realize that you do have a lot of control of your life and you still have a lot of independence. Just make small attainable goals to get there. Another thing you can do is if you were working or in school before cancer, returning to that can help increase a sense of normalcy and control that is often lost during treatment. So if you don't feel comfortable resuming the position you had before your diagnosis, you could consider changing your job or maybe talking to your employer or professor about going part-time or accommodating a way for you to ease back into it. You can also, if you're going on interviews for maybe a new job, you can orient your resume to highlight the skills and accomplishments that you have rather than the dates worked in order to highlight your capabilities and draw attention away from any gaps generated by treatment. So focus again on the skills that you have. Another thing is, hobbies. What hobbies do you have before you were sick that were important to you? Can you reincorporate those into your life in some way? If a lot of your hobbies were very physically taxing and you don't have the energy for that anymore, you can try something brand new. If you've always wanted to try something like writing or knitting or painting, now is the time. There's a new chapter in your life, and you should take advantage by delving into any interest that you had, but you never took advantage of it because life just got in the way. So find hobbies or interests that you think will add meaning or enjoyment to your life. Most importantly, I think the biggest takeaway from this is to expect that you will have good days and bad days. We're all human. Everyone's going to have a bad day. You may have days where you want to cry all day. You may have days where you want to be angry at the world for why you got cancer. You may succumb to the fears and anxieties that come with the diagnosis and not want to get out of bed. And that's okay. That's normal. What we're going to do is focus on planning ahead. So plan ahead for what you will do when those bad days inevitably come so you can quickly turn around. Maybe you can get your favorite meal with your best friend. Maybe you can take a trip to your favorite park or zoo. Maybe you can visit an animal shelter and play with some dogs if that makes you feel better. Maybe you can have your favorite movie ready to go on Netflix. Make a list of things that bring you joy so that you have this bad day plan ready to go. And I'll ensure that you always have a coping strategy ready whenever you need it. The third strategy is reduce stress, which I know sounds easy to say but hard to do. But it's really important to take control of your physical health and your mental health, especially your physical. After your diagnosis, you may feel as though there's a lot that you can't control, but you can focus on your body, making healthy changes to your lifestyle, helping to reduce your stress and improve your mood. And exercise is a known way to reduce that stress and tension. With your doctor's approval, you can start small with some at-home workouts and build your way up to going back to the gym or going to the park for runs or going to classes maybe that will let you work out with a supportive group of people. Now, if you do any of those classes, my advice is to make sure you get to a class early and let the instructor know your limitations and sit towards the back so that you can take a break or leave the class if you're not feeling it or not up for it. I think the most important thing is that you're trying. You're actively trying to help yourself. Every day that you make the effort to get out of the house and do something for yourself is going to be a day that you should feel proud of yourself and feel accomplished. You could, do 30 minutes of moderate activity a day, going on a long walk or doing some yoga to help yourself. And then also you got to take control of your mental health. So you can utilize relaxation techniques, deep breathing exercises, incorporate meditation and mindfulness to help reduce stress. If you have a hard time with navigating that independently, there are a lot of apps like the app named Calm, CALM, that help guide you through meditation and can be really relaxing when you're feeling really stressed out. Another thing is to make sure you're honest and open with your loved ones about how you're doing. Don't shy away from telling them how you feel because of your worry that they're gonna worry for you. You want to make sure that you're honest about how you're feeling and you're not afraid to ask for support when you're feeling overwhelmed. Your emotional well-being is just as important as your physical well-being in terms of your overall coping and getting through this. So the fourth one is going to be finding support. That's very important to do. If you have a social worker, whether it's at your local hospital or finding who that social worker is at MD Anderson, make sure you reach out to them. It's someone that is experienced and has access to lots of resources and can tailor what will be most helpful to you. It's always helpful to have a trained professional talk to you about what's going on to get the help that you need. As wonderful as family and friends are, and I'm sure there's some fantastic caregivers that are listening to this, it's important to have someone to talk to that's not also emotionally affected by your diagnosis. Cancer creates this big life disruption, and it can make it harder for both of you to cope if you're talking to your loved one about your struggles. As a caregiver, you also might not want to take care of, you can't take care of someone you love unless you're taking care of yourself first. So I encourage patients and caregivers to take this seriously, to reach out to outside support, to give yourselves freedom to talk about anything that is on your mind and to better support yourself or your loved one through this. So you can also utilize social media. I know a lot of patients in the past have utilized Facebook for their groups there. So you can either join an existing one or create a new one for your specific diagnosis. And you'll see that there are huge communities that you can be involved in that really rally behind you and provide you support. There's also a lot of one-on-one support. So there are a couple of different options here. One is My Cancer Connection, which is through MD Anderson. We're able to connect on this database of MD Anderson patients, where you can specify your diagnosis and your age, and then they'll match you with somebody with a similar diagnosis. And then you basically have a sort of pen pal that you can talk to about everything that's going on for support. Innerman's Angels is basically the same thing, but this is on a national level. So Innerman Angels is for a database of people and patients all over the world, all different types of diagnoses, but you can again specify the specific type that you have, and then they can match you with someone with the same cancer. Another one is the Patient True Talk Registry, which is a melanoma-specific resource that allows patients and caregivers to search for others with a melanoma diagnosis or who have undergone similar treatments. So the database then makes matches based on diagnosis and treatment, as well as their location. So this can be really helpful because you can send messages to people back and forth about your specific treatment and get advice about what it was like or what side effects were like or just how they're coping and how they're handling it. Because those are people that are actually in your shoes and will understand what you're going through more than maybe your friends or family can. Another option is the cancer support community. So they have a helpline that's staffed by professional counselors and oncology resource specialists who are experienced in helping people with cancer and their caregivers. This counseling is available in over 200 languages, so it has a far reach. It can help you and your loved one really get that support that you need. Other options include joining a support group. So I know with COVID, things have changed a little bit, and joining in-person support group would be a little bit difficult right now. So the good news is that there are a lot of virtual support available. So an option is the Melanoma Research Foundation has a oncology social work program partnership with Thomas Jefferson University's hospital social work program, and they offer virtual support groups to the primary and metastatic ocular melanoma community. So these support groups meet the first Wednesday of the month via a virtual platform, and licensed social workers facilitate the groups in a private and confidential setting. So if you were thinking about maybe joining a support group, but you weren't sure if you could do it, this might be a great way to transition into it. You can log in from home, get online, and if you don't feel comfortable sharing, you can honestly just go in and just, observe. You don't even have to talk if you don't feel like it. It's up to you how much you want to share or not share. But the greatest thing I think would just be to experience it and see what it's like and hear about people sharing their experiences and see if that's something that would benefit you. So that's an option. I'll include information for how to access that at the end of this presentation. There's also a support group for melanoma through Cancer Care as well. So I'll include that information as well at the end. Another thing you could do is participate in an online forum. So, the Melanoma Research Foundation has an online forum with thousands of different topics where you can read responses, answer questions, or pose your own questions to get specific answers regarding your diagnosis. So, that could be another option for finding support. So, the biggest piece is going to be finding meaning and normalcy. So, how can you find meaning and normalcy from cancer? Think about what you might have gained from this experience. Did it maybe help you find your purpose? Did you find out what's important to you now and what's not important to you that you thought was before this? Think about your relationships after your diagnosis. Do you have a greater compassion for others, maybe? Have you experienced enhanced intimacy or relationship quality with the people that really showed up for you in your time of need? Has cancer increased appreciation for the time that you have and the people you have in your life, such as maybe parents or children or your partner? Did you deepen your spirituality during this time? Have you identified what you need to ensure the best quality of life for yourself? Like what can you participate in that will bring meaning to your life? Are you returning to work or school? There's a lot of questions that you can think about to help find what brings meaning to your life now. Another thing that you can do is to practice your elevator speech. So, something to consider during this time is that, one of the biggest hurdles when coming back to, trying to retain some normalcy is how to talk to friends and families and neighbors and people who are concerned about you and want to check in and ask how you're doing. It can feel overwhelming to have to rehash your journey over and over and over again to several different people, and it can sometimes be pretty emotional. So if you practice an elevator speech, which is a quick 2-minute explanation about what you want to say when someone asks you about where you've been or how you're doing, you can rehearse it. You can have that kind of tucked away so that if somebody asks you, you already have this pre-rehearsed, ready to go little speech so that it's less of a hurdle or a setback when people ask you how you're doing. You already have this ready to go. But if you feel ready, I think sharing your experience is one of those gifts that keeps on giving long after your treatment is over. You could think about yourself on the day of your diagnosis and think about yourself now. You've inevitably learned a lot about yourself along the way, whether you've realized it or not. You have knowledge that can help somebody else, and sharing that information in order to help somebody else can be very rewarding. So think about all the things that you wish that you knew when you first got diagnosed, and how you can help share that with others. Whether you participate in online forums or local support groups or volunteer at your local hospital, there's plenty of places where you can go to share your story and in turn both get and give support to others like you and engage in this shared, fulfilling experience. So I have this little pie chart to show you that, this is what people, typical pie chart looks like for what life looks like before cancer. It's very compartmentalized. There are, different parts of your life that are independent. So family, work, exercise, nutrition, hobbies, are all things that, might be important to you before your diagnosis. But once you get diagnosed with cancer, it might feel like this entire chart is all one color. It's all cancer because cancer affects the hobbies that you can participate in because of your low energy. It affects what you can eat because of your nutrition concerns. It might affect your exercise because of, what your limitations might be. It might put a halt on work and maybe you're taking family medical leave. It might affect your family and your role within your family, whether you kind of have to take a back seat because you can't be a financial provider right now, or if you can't help out with the kids as much, things like that. Cancer can feel like it takes up the entire chart and the entire thing is all cancer. Well, what we hope to achieve is this new normal where cancer is just a piece of the pie, and that you feel like you're able to realize that cancer is your diagnosis, but it's not your identity. It's important to prioritize what's important to you in your life and to find meaning and fulfillment in this next chapter. So I hope by the end of this that you're able to utilize this information to cope with all the changes after diagnosis and turn cancer into a small piece of your life and not something that overwhelms you or defines you. Your mental health and well-being is as important as your physical health. So I just want to encourage you to make sure that you're seeking support and you know the help is out there so that you can make sure that your life looks like this, where you have everything in your life that you enjoy, and cancer is just a small piece of it, but you're navigating this new normal by taking advantage of all the support that's out there. So as I said before, here's all the support resources that I talked about, including the websites and the phone contact information for these resources. Feel free to take a picture of it on your phone so you can refer back to it and hopefully utilize these resources. If you have any questions, my name is Tabine Arbach, and I'm a social work counselor at MD Anderson. And my email is there, so you can email me with any questions or concerns or feedback.